Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Soraya, I'm a mother of two, and every Friday I post a video as part of a series called The Laundry Talk, where I talk about motherhood struggles from a feminist perspective while folding my laundry. And this week on The Laundry Talk, I want to talk about how to raise our little girls to be strong, to be empowered, and to love challenge, so that they never let the fear of failure or hardship prevent them from being ambitious and being successful. And this episode was inspired by a TEDx talk that I have listened to recently with Reshma Sojani. She's also written a book called Brave Not Perfect, which I've been listening to on Audible, and I've really enjoyed it. And basically she talks about how we teach our boys to be brave, but we teach our girls to be perfect, and how this completely affects their life later on. So basically, she uses the example of when we let our kids play in the playground. If we have a little boy, we'll often encourage him to take risks, we'll encourage him to climb, jump, and we won't be as afraid of them falling. Or at least, even if we are, we will still encourage them to take those risks and to be strong and brave. Whereas our little girl, we will have a bigger tendency of asking them to be, to be careful. We don't want them to take as much risks, and we don't want them to climb as much, and we will prefer that they play more quietly. The other thing that she talks about is the mom-daughter relationship, and she says that basically moms are much more harsh on their daughters than they are on their sons. And so with their sons, they'll kind of allow them to be flawed, whereas with little girls, we always want to fix them, we always want them to be perfect. For example, if a little girl spills something and gets a stain on her dress, the mom will have a tendency to straight away want to fix it and change her to make her wear a new clean outfit. Whereas a little boy, we don't really mind them being dirty and messy. And so because we teach our little girls to be perfectionists from such a young age, and we always teach them about, putting others before themselves and caring about being always perfect, being always, clean, and being afraid of the mess, that means that later on they actually become, risk averse, and they become afraid of failure. And so you'll find that a lot of women will gravitate towards professions where they feel completely comfortable and where they know that they are good at this job, and they won't necessarily strive for a challenge. So they won't necessarily go for jobs that will challenge them and where they don't feel confident yet. And Reshma even talks about these statistics where she said that when there's a job advert, men will tend to apply when they only have about 60% of the required qualifications, whereas women will only apply when they have 100% of those qualifications. And that just goes to show that women will be more perfectionist in their approach. They will want to be completely comfortable, know everything perfectly, and so this makes them less likely to go for higher roles, more challenging roles, roles where they have more power and where they get to make bigger decisions, because they are more afraid of this challenge. And so this greatly affects, their lives, of course. So now the question is, how do we get out of this habit that we have? How do we socialize our girls differently? How do we teach them to be empowered? How do we teach them to strive for challenge rather than run away from challenge? How do we teach them to want to fix their own problem rather than straight away feeling like they can't do it? Well, I've got a couple of strategies that I've been thinking about and that I want to share with you today. And also, if there's anything else that you can think of that you would like to share with me and with other people who are watching this video, please do let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are and if you've got any strategies that you are using with your little girls. So let's get started. So the first strategy, and probably the most obvious one that I want to share with you, is to not be afraid of the mess and let our our little girls be messy and dirty? Because basically we want our little girls to be completely comfortable with imperfection, because imperfection is what will lead you to keep trying harder and keep trying to fix things and find solutions until you succeed. But if you're so afraid of imperfection, then you will have a tendency to remain in this stagnant position where you don't challenge yourself because you're so afraid of how messy it can be when you try and you might fail. So if we want our girls to reach their full potential, we need to make sure that they are comfortable with all the hardship that comes with trying and with striving for more. And so that means imperfection, that means possibly failure, because you fail until you get it right. And of course, on our part, that also requires some patience, right? Because the thing is, I find that with me, one of the things that I struggle with is that, okay, in theory, I agree about letting my little girl get messy. In theory, I agree about letting her try and letting her fail, not going straight away to fix everything for her, giving her a chance to fail and to experience that feeling and to experience, to give her a chance to feel what it's like to fail and to want to succeed and to keep trying harder. I want her to experience that, but then sometimes I don't have the patience to, like I'll jump in and help her because we're in a rush, and so, she's trying to zip up her jacket and we're about to head out and it's taking so long, and I don't have the patience to let her keep trying until she succeeds. And so I find that this is my challenge as a parent, but in reality it's so important that we take the time to let our little girls fail and experience that feeling of frustration, but also be energized by wanting to be able to reach their goal, by wanting to do it. And so it's so important as parents that we don't step in straight away, that we give them a chance to keep trying and to try and be better. The next thing I want to say, and this is something that I really struggle with, is to not teach your daughter to always put everybody's feelings before hers. And it's hard for me to teach that to my daughter because this is something that I struggle with. I have this tendency, like I'm a people pleaser 100%, and I always have had a tendency since as long as I can remember to put everybody else's feelings before my own. And so and so I see myself doing that with my child as well. Why do I always feel like, being good to others means that I have to not take care of myself as well? And why do I feel like it has to come with some sort of personal sacrifice when really it doesn't? And why am I teaching this to my daughter? Why should I teach my daughter that she has to always silence herself to put others before her? The next strategy I want to share is to not always shop in the girls section. I find it so frustrating and annoying how shops, whether it's clothing or toys, they are organized by gender. What's that supposed to mean? Why are toys organized by gender? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why are toys organized by gender? What's that supposed to mean? And so, but until today, you will still find shops completely organized by gender. And if you ask a sales assistant for help, the first thing that they'll ask is if the child is a boy or a girl. My 3-year-old little girl's favorite toys are her train sets, her magnet tiles, and her mega blocks. She loves building towers and she loves playing with her little train. And so why should I limit her play and limit her mind to toys that are specifically designed for girls? She doesn't have to play with little kitchens all the time. She doesn't have to play cooking, and she doesn't have to play with her dolls all the time. She's allowed to have her mind expanded by having to think about building stuff and thinking about this strategy to make this super high tower. I want her to learn all those stuff, and I want her to strive for that challenge and to be excited by that challenge. So although I do think that role playing with dolls is important, and by the way, I'm completely fine with my son playing with dolls as well, because I think that this role playing and playing with dolls teaches children so much about emotional intelligence, and I want my son to have these social skills as well. I want my son to have this emotional intelligence as well. But so the other way around, I also want my girls to develop all this interest, and maybe she's gonna be an engineer someday, or maybe not, but it doesn't matter because I've given her the same chances to develop her interests as I'm giving my son. The next thing is to encourage your little girl to be curious and to be inquisitive and to question the order of things around her. By doing that yourself and by encouraging her to develop some critical thinking, not just accept any explanation that is given to her without ever questioning it. So encourage your child to be curious, encourage them to, expand their minds by making her love reading books. I so believe in teaching our children to read books. I think this is one of the most precious things that you can give your child, is to teach them to enjoy books, because this will help them become free thinkers. I mean, there's no secret, when our little girls go out in the world and read those books and get inspired by those other women's stories and get inspired by all the great thinkers, men and women, who are out there, they expand their minds and they learn that they can feel empowered, and they learn to have these critical thinking skills, and they learn to be great thinkers. So yes, so encourage them to be curious, and also be mindful about what books and movies you bring into their lives. In my house, we don't watch much TV anyway, but there is some movies that you will never see in my house. For example, these traditional Disney movies, the ones where the princess, her whole job in the movie is to be cute and beautiful and to wait for her prince to come and save her. None of that in my house. I'm more interested in movies like Brave or like The Princess and the Frog, where it's not a woman waiting for a man to come and save her, and the end goal is not to get married, preferably to a successful man, maybe a prince, and that's like ultimate happiness. That's like her life is fulfilled. We don't even need to talk about anything that happens afterwards. No, that's not what I want to teach my girl. What I want to show her is these rebel, strong women, fierce women who know how to fix their own problems. And I want her to be inspired by those women. I am very mindful about what I'm exposing her to, so that I don't let, all of this crap of women needing to be saved pollute her mind. This is definitely not the kind of movies and books that I want to that I want to be shaping my daughter's mind. So be mindful about what you bring into your home. And the last thing that I want to say is to practice true gender equality at home. And by that, I don't mean that you have to keep an Excel spreadsheet with your partner about all the things that you do and all the things that he does to make sure that it's always super 50-50. By that, I mean that your partner is responsible for caring for the children as much as you are, and that you both have this balance where you both feel completely fulfilled and there is zero resentment. I mean, you both decided to have a kid together and you wanted this together. You've created this tiny human together. And so he has a responsibility to take care of the children as well as maintain the home just as much as you. And so I think it's very important to model that to your children, boys and girls, and to, and to be mindful about what you are teaching them as normal, because what your sons and daughters witness at home is what they will expect later on in their own adult life, as partners and as parents themselves. And so I really think that it's so important to make sure that there is real gender equality at home, and that, you role model that behavior for your child. Okay, so these are all my thoughts on this topic. I hope you found today's video interesting. I will link once again the TEDx talk that I mentioned in the description box below, as well as some other resources that I found interesting on this topic. And please don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to this channel if you aren't already, make sure you hit that notification bell so that you never miss one of my videos. Thank you so much for watching.